Welcome back, FUD Nation. Today we're going to be talking about Wanchain. Now, some of you might already know about Wanchain, but for those of you who do not, this coin has risen dramatically from its ICO price and still commands a lot of room, potential for growth. There's a lot to be excited about Wanchain, so we're going to go through their concept, their team, their roadmap, some potential drawbacks or threats to their success, and of course we'll be concluding by letting you know whether we will be investing in this project. We'd like to remind you that we have not been paid or incentivized in any way to make this video, and we have not had any contact with the Wanchain team. I'm Elio Trades, you're watching FUD TV, and today is all about Wanchain. First, let's talk about their technology. The whole concept behind this is interoperability. Wanchain views itself as the bank of the future. And by bank of the future, they're not talking about a place where you go to deposit your cash and withdraw your cash. They're talking about all kinds of financial services that are not even made possible by today's infrastructure. They're trying to provide financial services of the next generation of internet technology. And that's what they mean by bank of the future. They're trying to provide protocols for swapping assets across private chains, public chains. They want to make it so that any asset can freely interact with any other asset, regardless of where it is siloed. For example, Ethereum's assets right now are siloed on the Ethereum blockchain. Same with Bitcoin and so on and so forth. The whole point of interoperability is to make it so that these assets can talk to and interact with each other. Many people liken this to the concept of internet or computers in the 80s being connected together, and all of a sudden we have the commercial internet. That's what interoperability within blockchains is looked at, and that's why it's such a big deal. Of course, they're also going to be doing things like multi-asset ICOs. They're going to have support for DApps. They've already announced 6 of their DApps, which we'll go through, and they're going to allow for anyone to sort of set up what they consider a virtual teller window and provide banking services to the world, allowing for anyone to set up essentially their own bank and provide banking-esque services. Now, these won't exactly be the same services that you might associate with today's banks, but these are fundamental financial services that will run our economies of tomorrow. In order to make any of this possible, they have a native token exchange on their platform, and of course, privacy is one of their foremost concerns, as they're looking to bring into the fold very serious financial institutions that require complete and total privacy of their records. This is one of the main hangups that has been around for big companies getting into blockchain, is the ability to have private blockchains that interact perfectly with public ledgers. We want businesses to be able to create their own blockchains that interact with those ledgers, and that's exactly what Wanchain wants to facilitate. So as we were saying, Wanchain will have its own blockchain and its own protocol mapping between chains, and its coin WAN will facilitate any interchain, any cross-chain interaction. So this coin WAN, the way you use it, the way it's needed, is whenever you're doing anything between chains. Obviously, if you're doing something just on the Ethereum blockchain, you don't need the WAN coin. If you're doing something just on the Bitcoin blockchain, you don't need the WAN coin. It's only when you're going from Ethereum to Bitcoin, for example, or between blockchains, maybe a public blockchain and a private blockchain, that exchange of assets and information between those chains is facilitated by the WAN coin. And that's where the need for and the value behind the WAN coin is going to come from. It kind of reminds me of the Nebulous coin in that way, in some ways. Transactions all consume WAN, as well as it can be used for security deposits and cross-chain verification nodes. Essentially, WAN facilitates all these forms of interoperability in many different ways. Their team are just total rock stars. They have Jack Liu, who created Factum. He's also done a ton of other stuff in the space, and Dustin Byington, who's kind of the speaker, the mouthpiece of the entire project, certainly an ambassador for it. He created Tendermint in 2015, and that was after he founded Bitcoin College. He's a legend of the space. He's been creating successful projects in the blockchain universe for quite some time now, and this seems like his biggest achievement yet. In fact, he also announced that he's going to be creating other projects around Wanchain to help facilitate its adoption. Beyond, obviously, we're going to talk about this in a second, but they have 6 ICOs that they've already dropped or announced that are coming, and they have much, much more planned. This is an entire ecosystem, and this team is going to be responsible for bringing that forward. It's all about adoption, it's all about usage, it's all about partnerships, and that's something that I think they get truly on a base level, which is what makes me very bullish on this team. I'd rate them 9 or 10 out of 10. So they went live in Q1 with their first initial version here. They're doing an Ethereum integration this summer, they're doing a Bitcoin integration this fall, and then they're going to do private chains coming up next year. Obviously, they have a lot more secret sauce in the tank as they're announcing partnerships here very strategically. They just talked about a partnership with PundiX, which is a point-of-sale merchant, and they're also going to be doing some other partnerships in the space. More importantly, they launched plans to have 6 DApps come out on their platform, 6 ICOs, and they really span the gamut. These are not the simple ICOs that are like, oh, here's a a taxation app or a human resources. I'm not even sure what I expected out of the Wanchain sort of more financially driven, asset driven ICOs, but there are ICOs really all over the map here. So it's showing that Wanchain is going to be a very interesting interoperable platform, and I don't think they're going to be pigeonholed so much into one area or another area. I think they've got a ton of versatility coming in what they're going to offer. So I'm very excited to see what they push forward as far as interoperability. For the record, they are working with Aon, and they're working with Ontology, and they're working with Icon in something called an Interoperability Alliance. So they're actually teamed up with Ion and a few other projects, and now they're teamed up with PundiX. We also got word that they just spoke at the One Belt, One Road Initiative conference in China, which is, of course, sponsored by the Chinese government. It has $1 trillion in infrastructure spending attached to it. So there's a lot to be excited about, and they're really becoming figureheads and spokespersons for developing innovative blockchain solutions. I think they're considered in the sort of hot young class of next projects to become big coins. So very exciting stuff, and their roadmap we can expect to really ramp up as they start successfully integrating and doing these cross-chain bridges, as they're calling it, or integrations. So as we look at the price charts here, it's important to remember that this ICO started at like 30 cents or something. So we're up here at right now like 18 times, almost 20 times the initial ICO price in US dollar value, and probably something about similar equivalent in Ethereum or Bitcoin value. So we can see that this ICO has performed insanely well. And so you can already see that there's a lot of people who have made a lot of money. Even if you feel like this is still a very early time to be getting in on Wanchain, the project is already valued at over $650 million, and it's done an insane amount of growth. It's already done some amazing work, so it can totally continue to grow and be a multi-billion dollar project, which I'd certainly hope for in the future of this project. But I would say that you have to be aware as you invest in this project that it's done so well already that you have to be a bit realistic as to what you expect the growth forward to look like. Though I still have incredible optimism about where this project could go. And though I'm personally not into price predictions, I would not be invested into any cryptocurrency at this point in the market if I didn't believe it had the potential to do a 10x within the next year. And I will be answering the question as to whether I would invest into Wanchain right now at the end of this presentation. So stay tuned, because I'll be telling you the answer as to whether essentially I think this will 10x or not at the end of this presentation. It's important to remember that there is a ton of competition for interoperability. And like Google or search engines, once you have a really amazing interoperable blockchain solution, it's not quite clear how many more you'll need to find the results and the information that you need, or to have the experience that you'd like. In addition to the fact that there are a ton of other interoperable blockchain projects, we just got word that the EEA, the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, they just announced their own platform, their own protocol for doing permissioned or private chains into public chain data swaps. So we can see this is a trend that's emerging, and this is certainly a problem that a lot of people are trying to solve. So they are not going to, Wanchain rather, is not going to be the only project trying to solve this. So to think that they're the only people doing this would be a mistake. Now, are they the best? Are they going to be incredibly successful at that? Well, that's certainly the hope, right, for any Wanchain investor. But it's important to realize that this is a problem that is going to be looked at by almost everybody. And they're likening this to, interoperability is considered like connecting the computers and forming the internet. This step forward is taking the data out of a silo and making it all connected. So they're not going to be the only ones. We know there's a ton of other great projects focusing on this, and it's important to realize that if someone becomes the interoperable solution, like for example Nebulous, that could mean that it does take some shine away from some of these other projects. And I'm not saying that they're focusing on the same things. I'm just saying that this is a drawback you're going to have to deal with if you are a fan of Wanchain. This could something that could interfere, is that other interoperable projects could take precedent, or essentially take some of the shine, take some of the consumer behavior away.
Wanchain, oh Wanchain.
So Wanchain's really exciting. It's got a ton of things going for it. They had this incredibly successful ICO, one of the most hyped up, talked about cryptocurrency projects of 2018, hands down. The only question is, should we invest? Because obviously there's a lot of competition. There are other people focusing on this question, and it's a very new project. The partnerships are good, but there's no like make or break partnership where like, okay, this partnership alone is going to be the reason why Wanchain is going to moon 1000%. Like we see those with Ontology and some other projects where it's very clear how they're getting integrated, like Icon. And so we'd like to see a little bit more of that from Wanchain. We'd like to see a little bit more of these partnerships. However, we are going to share with you that we are planning to invest. We did invest a little bit in Wanchain before, but we're planning to invest more at this level. I do believe that Wanchain has much more than a 10x within its potential for this year. I do believe that Wanchain will end up facilitating a ton of interoperability between public chains and private chains, and for that reason, I'm very excited and bullish about its future. I personally will be taking out a position in Wanchain. I'm not going to disclose how much I'm going to buy, but I am excited about this position. Again, there's a ton of other competition entering this field, but I'm still very excited and bullish about what Wanchain has already created and how they're going to go about furthering their goals and their mission. We hope this presentation on Wanchain has made you better informed. Please remember that this is just our opinions and it's not financial advice, so if you're going to invest, we encourage you to always do your own research. My name's Elio Trades, and I do daily cryptocurrency videos on this channel. So if you enjoyed this content, don't be afraid. Hit that subscription button and touch that bell notification so you're made aware whenever we put out new content. Once again, I'm Elio Trades. It's been amazing having you with me today on FUD TV, and I'll catch you very soon on the next episode.